past few years have been a little, rough on me. I'm pretty sure for a lot of people as well. Besides the pandemic happening, mentally and trying to find myself. Um, I feel like I'm still trying to find who I am, and I've thought about doing a a separate podcast because I do a podcast that you can see all the comic book stuff in my room. I started a podcast last year because of the Snyder's Justice League that came out, and I wanted to do like pop culture stuff and mostly movies more than anything. But I've stuck around with comic book stuff. But I also wanted to start something different. I think that I have always had the desire to help people outside of just a church ministry kind of stuff. Many things made me it led up to me not wanting to be there anymore. A lot of the stuff that I saw, a lot of the things that I heard about, but I kind of want to talk about it now. I know this is going to be like maybe controversial to a lot of people, but I want to talk about it because it's about, you know, how we grow up and we follow certain rules or we follow certain habits and stuff, and then we never ask why. We never ask why is this happening to me, or why are these things not being talked about more often. And again, I was part of a church organization, a ministry that was helping young people, you know and it was it was challenging, but also it was an opportunity for me to become, I think, the person that I am now. Back then, I was really shy. I didn't really, talk to a lot of people, and I started putting myself out there. And my journey started, like, I would say, like 2014 is where I started breaking the ice for myself, not anything else, but starting to get to know who I was, and people started to see me who I really was, instead of just this quiet, shy kid who, you knew about my parents and stuff, but I was just a shadow, to everything. My siblings were part of ministry as well, and I think sometimes that journey to grow has to be done outside of a spiritual realm, like church related, religious related. Um, and I think that nobody wants to talk about that. I see things way differently than I did even a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Even when I first started, I felt my journey in ministry, I felt that my life was going to lead me to a certain place. And, I started being a little naive with, my future, thinking that, oh, God's got it. God's got it. And, I'm 30 years old now, and I feel like I've only accomplished a little bit and not enough for me to be like, yo, I feel successful. Um, and this is the main reason I want to start this new YouTube channel and talk about it. Hopefully I can interact with you guys, and you guys could talk to me about your experience. But I think the first thing to do here is talk about my experience. I'm not gonna say I had a bad childhood. My childhood was amazing. The '90s kids childhood. I feel like the '90s kids are the best childhood. And there's is up for debate, right? Uh, but I think the '90s kids were like they had they had the last little bit before technology took over. Um, so like pure, you know, being a kid, being outside, playing outside, going to the pool, having like stick fights. I don't know if you had that, freeze tag and all this crazy stuff that everybody like. You ask a kid now, you want to play tag, they be like, "What the hell is that?" Um, but I grew up good, you know. All I ever wanted to do is, make my parents proud. I think a lot of us want to make our parents proud, and we always feel like we fail them because like what is expected from us is not really the outcome usually, of our lives and stuff, and that's the sorry, and that's the most difficult part to live with, like having to deal with that fact that you're never gonna be enough for your parents, you know, especially coming from Latinos, right? I think the Latino, you know, yeah, yeah, I understand that your parents have you in a higher standing, you know. They're like, you're American, you speak English, and you have all this, so you should get further than I did. And a lot of that is true. A lot of that is very true. But a lot of the stuff as well is, you know, the prejudice and the racism that, you know, we have to go through as kids. Again, when I was a kid, I really didn't see any of that. I I was always around Hispanics, you know. It's when we moved to South Carolina where things started to change, you know. I started to see different group of people and less of my type of people. You know, when I say my type, it's like Latinos and stuff like that. You know, because I had a lot of, like, you know, little Spanish kids and stuff, like friends that were, you know, we would speak Spanish. We'll go to each other's houses, you know, and stuff like that. We'll have sleepovers and it'll be the whole nine. You know, if you understand, again, '90s kids. Um, but I again, my childhood was good because, you know, we had everything we wanted. You know, my dad wasn't there a lot, but, you know, everything we wanted, like material wise, is what we got. You know, and not until we got older did we not understand that we needed more than that. You know, I think my sister was the first to notice that. You know, about, you know, that's her story to tell, but, you know, of, you know, growing up and stuff, and, you know, my mom, uh, people who know me and know my ministry, uh, or what it was, you know, in the past, um, know that my mom had cancer at one point, and, you know, she's a survivor of cancer, which is awesome. But it was also the turning point in our relationship as a family because, you know, my dad felt like he had to stop traveling and actually be there, but he didn't know how to actually be there for us because, you know, it was he was called to do other things. He loved to teach, he loved to preach, and do all that, and that's all good, you know. But like I said, my 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 mentality has changed. The way I see things has changed so much, and I feel I don't want to skip around. I don't want to skip around too much. I want to, you know, start from, you know, my childhood. You know, again, um, growing up when my mom got sick, that's where, you know, I felt like I was challenging God to a certain degree. And don't get me wrong, I still believe that God exists. There's certain things that I don't believe anymore. And throughout this journey, you know, I'll explain that and start opening up a little bit. But I hope you guys can, you know, communicate with me too, like interact with me and be able to, you know, send me emails or messages, and, you know, we could talk about it and talk about why, you know, I am where I am now. And I don't think I'm limiting myself anymore. I think I have grown a lot when it comes to knowing things of the world and knowing things about life and about God and stuff like that. So again, you know, so we grew up in a, you know, religious household, not strict religious, you know, parents. There were certain things that, you know, we couldn't watch, but it wasn't like that. You know, I hear a lot of people say they can't watch like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, you know, Digimon, any of that stuff. It was forbidden, or Yu-Gi-Oh, you know. And I still to this day think that that's freaking crazy. Um, but yeah, again, I had a good childhood, man. Like, dude, like we had a 90 what you call it, Nintendo 64, and that was cool. You know, we had a PlayStation 2, which was the best, I think, consoles till this day. And, you know, just thinking about how far we've come, you know, all of, you know, it was three of us, you know, it's my sister, my brother, and me. How far we've come in our journey in life. We've all have different, you know, mentalities, different mindsets. You know, my sister, she just got married, in which is awesome. You know, my sister's doing her own thing. She chose a career path and she's there. My brother chose a career path and he has his business. And feel like I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know, because I always wanted to get into film. You know, it's just I was always scared. You hear a bunch of stories about film and stuff, but since I was a kid, I was like, you know, filming and stuff like that. But I also had aspirations to be a singer. You know, and I don't have the greatest voice. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. I wish I had a better voice, but I love to sing and I love to write, you know, and I still do that. I still write. Maybe not every day, but I was doing it for some time where I would write every day something new, but at least once a week or twice a week, I write something new in my notes. And, I know a lot of people do that in their journal, but that made me want to think about doing this. What I'm doing here now is talk about my life and be able to open up, you know, about how religious mindset can kind of mess you up. And it's good, but it's also bad. um, there's a time where, your parents teach you certain things, and then I know they teach you in the Bible. The Bible says, teach, instruct the kid in his way, and he will never depart from it when he gets older. And to be honest, I disagree. Um, I do agree that it teaches the kid, the child to be a better person, a better human being. But I think that the mindset that people use with they took that, text out of context and try to force kids to be something that they're not, and they felt that they weren't who they were supposed to be. Like me, myself, again, like I just got out of ministry 2020, right? The ending of the pandemic. I was still part of a organization until like February of 2021, and that's where I was just like, you know what, I really don't want to do this anymore. I feel like I haven't been able to do much. I haven't, you know I've like the past year, because of the pandemic, and we all faced a lot of difficulties during that time, but I felt like it helped me open my eyes, because me and my brother had different conversations about life and God and everything, and it made me want to open up my mind, because I felt like something was holding me back, and I still felt that. Now I feel different. I feel like I'm not being held back anymore, because I'm actually thinking for myself instead of trying to think for my parents, or think about these people that I'm letting down, because 2020 was more like that I felt like I was letting a lot of people down, because I was in charge of a group of young people, of youth, and I felt like we were moving forward, and then the pandemic happened, and and then I was like, well, maybe God has a different plan, and our theme for that year was 2020 focus and stuff like that. But again, I feel like I'm skipping around too much, but I grew up in ministry, not knowing what I wanted to do. When we moved to South Carolina, we actually settled in one church, and we're going to a specific church. And again, my environment changed completely. I had no friends again. Had to restart from the beginning. My sister had to do the same thing. My brother had to do the same thing, and it was a difficult time for us. Because again, we're kids, and you tell your parents you're stressed out, your parents are gonna be like, why are you stressed? You a kid, you shouldn't be stressed. I'm stressed. I'm supposed to provide for you and stuff like that. So my dad, started slowing down. He wasn't traveling as much, he was still involved in church and stuff. So was my mom. My mom always cooked for church and always did stuff. She was like the person in the background, but the person that you needed, the backbone of the church, like those people that love to serve, that love to help other people, and they gave people so many chances, and that was my biggest thing. I felt like we gave so many people so many chances, and yeah, at the end, people, for their own benefit, they screw you. They betray you. They go against you because they think that they're gonna get better, or they're gonna get a bigger seat. And I'm like, what about this whole um, a goal to reach heaven and earn our crown? I feel like a lot of people have lost their crown, even though that their hierarchy in church organizations and stuff like that, even in church, local churches and stuff, like it might be high, doesn't mean that you're gonna get anywhere. Because the whole concept of heaven seems like a facade, to be honest. Like it seems false now, because everything I was taught in 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 Sunday school and Bible college, I just felt like there's a lot of questions that I needed to be answered. And my dad was like, he was never getting mad when I asked these questions. He would just be like, all right, this is good. You need to um you need to ask these questions more often. You need to get to a point where you're able to look for the source to answer these questions, not just believe me, you know? So I appreciated that about my dad, and that's something that I think my dad developed over the years, especially me being the last little kid, in his, in the baby of the family. I think he learned with me to be a little bit more open with me, and able to see me, or see life differently through my eyes, but also he was stuck in his way still. Like, he still wanted to see things, oh, God this, God that. And, for so long that you serve a certain church organization, a denomination or religion, whatever, right? You feel a loyalty that you owe them. You feel like you owe them your life, which that takes away from the point of you living your life for God or living your life for Jesus or whoever your God is. I'm not gonna oppose because again, I think differently now. um, and I do believe that there is a God, but this God of that I grew up thinking about, he just seems so unfair, you know. And I know I've heard that saying. They said if God is all good, he cannot be all powerful, and if he's all powerful, he cannot be all good. And that debate is still in my head, that is God good, is God, all powerful, is. And for me to believe that God is good, then I have to believe that everything that I went through, you know that's the hard part, because I believe that there is one God. I do. One, above everything else. But is there lesser gods? Maybe. I'm not I'm not gonna turn that away or be like, nah, that's not true, because it makes you think. Because nowadays I hear like different or experiencing or educating myself with other people's religion. Different religions have different gods to pray to, but they all have that one supreme God. And you know maybe not all of them, but a lot of them do. Um, have that one God that they serve, and it's above all the other ones, but the other gods are like the lesser gods and stuff. Um, but yeah, like going through Bible college, my dad always like, you know, ask these questions. It's good to doubt. It's good, because it makes you not just blindly follow. And I started seeing that I was blindly following. I was following a path that other people were making for me, or that it's like the path that has already been walked through. And growing in again in church and Christianity, and growing up in that lifestyle, you're always like you're supposed to take the road that is less traveled by, right? Um, I know that's a poem, um, but yeah, like going through the road less traveled by, But it seems like so many people walk the path that I already walked, or I am walking. So many people already walked it, and it seems like slowly but surely that journey or that walk that I was supposed to take, that road became more corrupt, and I started seeing a lot of, and I'm gonna say corruption. I'm not here to expose everybody. I'm not. Uh, if I wanted to, I'm sure I can get a lot of people to believe me, but to prove it, that's the hardest part, because these people are so good, and I'm not gonna get into that. These people are good to hide their whatever. But what am I gonna say? What am I gonna say for you guys to believe me? Only those who went through it would understand what I'm saying. You know, and I always wanted to be one of those advocates for the voiceless. And I felt like I was for a group of young people. Once I hit my 20s, I started putting myself more in youth ministry and stuff like that, and I got an opportunity to serve, and that was great. And I felt like, oh, this is the path that God wanted me to do. So God is going to take care of me. Excuse me. um, God's going to take me to this place, and I'm never going to have to worry about money. And that's, to be honest, like let's be very honest with ourselves. Thinking that way is a fairy tale. Just to believe that. I feel like God does work in our logic and out of our logic. He works with our world and without our, like, beyond our world. And I think us thinking that just God is in control just like that, and we be lazy and we procrastinate and we don't do enough to achieve our goals or achieve our life. um that's a fantasy. Like, we can't believe like that. And people are like, oh, again, a scripture, right? And I paraphrase because I don't know exactly, but I just remember reading and hearing people preach about this, and maybe it was out of context. Again, you can hear somebody preach about something that's not even in the Bible. It's a lot of this stuff is like, ugh, out of context. But there, it's the saying that seek the kingdom of God, and everything else should be given to you. I know I'm paraphrasing a lot, but yeah, seek the kingdom of God, and seek Him basically over everything, and God will give you everything. um, which is, I think it's false. I don't. I think that that's not exactly what God meant. If we take Scripture as the Word of God, which I don't know if that's. I think it's a good source material. I think it's a good place to, like, grow and educate yourself to the world and how it works, because a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible does have to do with real life, but a lot of it is fantastical. It's like a movie, that you're watching, and wishful thinking is you would want what Jesus did in the Bible to be true, because then you feel less bad about your past or less bad about where you come from, and I accept that part. I do accept that part of, I have redemption somewhere. I have redemption somewhere, and I think that redemption comes from oneself becoming a better person, because there's so many people out there that are terrible people. And again, like, past 2 years, um, you know, I I felt like I was becoming a bad person. I felt like I was becoming someone else, like I was becoming something else. Like, uh, I would hear people say, "Oh, the devil's there." The devil's here for you, and he's controlling you and your mindset and everything. And again, if the devil exists, right? And this is all, you know, if the devil does exist, you give them too much credit. You give them too much power. But to me, it's just made up stuff. It, it's hard, right? Because if you, this isn't. I don't want to talk about religion necessarily here, where I'm debating what your belief system is. It's just, again, I've grown in a different path. Not the fact that I don't believe in God. It's just I believe differently about certain things that I was taught in church and outside of church and all this stuff, and it just made me think that there's not just one way, because in the organization that I was a part of, they believed that they were the only way. And I was like, to be honest, I never agreed with that. That was unfair. I wanted to believe like that, but I couldn't, because I was like, that seems like a really unfair, God, and I guess that can say that that's the, you know, not so good God. He's all powerful, but not all good, but I don't think that's how God works. I think God is. I think that's as plainly as I can put it, that God is, he's the creator. It's not good or bad. It's just he's there, and I know that's hard to debate, but I was having this conversation with a friend from work, and we started talking, and we were talking about who God is and what God is, and I started to see all the limitations that I would put on God, and even the Bible, like reading the Bible and studying it, and preaching about stuff. I saw that I was limiting the God that's supposed to be unlimited, and that seems very contradicting to the God of this God, and I hear these preachers of prosperity and hope and all that, and then that's all good. Like, again, it's good that you guys want to help people, but actually help them, because I've seen a lot of preachers, I've seen a lot of these ministers, deacons, bishops, and whatever you want to call them, and they are so not not what they are. They're not what they appear or they want you to perceive from them. Like, they're terrible people. They're corrupt. They have their own mindset. They have their own agenda, and I'm like, oh, that's the part that I'm like, I don't agree with. Because I never wanted to become that person, and I don't think I ever became that person. I felt like the only way I could get higher and make changes is if I did become like them. And me opening my mind to seeing things differently, I think that helped me um, finally find peace, because after I stopped going to church or congregating in any church, um, I felt good. Like, I felt a weight lifted off of me. And it's not to say that I don't need it. Like, I just felt like all the show that we would put in church, the worship and the stages and all this crap, it's crap. It's a load of crap for me. I felt like it was a show more. It was more like a concert rather than it to help people. And I get it. Like, oh, we want to share what we've done. We've changed this person's life, and yes, glory to God or glory to whoever. That this person changed their life, but this was a show, because then they started putting it all over the place, and I seen those people, and I was like, dude, am I becoming them? Where, like, they catch me praying or they catch me preaching and saying one line, and I'm like, I'm gonna post this on my Instagram, post this on my Facebook, and be like, I'm gonna be famous because of this picture, and people are gonna understand it. And I missed the point of what was happening there. As a leader, I used to say this a lot. I don't know if you guys remember, if you those who know me, right? Where I would say, I always wanted to be the best version of myself. I'm not the best, but I will give my best. And I also would say, I don't care if you forget my name. All I care about is you guys remember what we did here. And to this day, I still believe that. You might forget who I am. You know, some people call me Yoyo. You call me whatever you want. You know, heathen, devil worshiper, whatever. I don't worship no devil. I don't worship anything like that. Like I'm not crazy. You know, I just think like I've opened my mind, and like you call me Yo-Yo, you call me Yoel, and you want to be more personal. Call me, um, Yoel. Yoel is the easiest one. Yoel. The easiest thing to say. No, nobody start singing, please, because there's a bunch of Christmas songs you can sing to me. Please don't do that. I probably trigger people to do it now. But yeah, so I felt like being of that mindset of growing up with, again, blindly following certain rules that I'd never ask questions, and now I do. I ask those questions. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? And then I hear people's conversations, and they still, some people, not a lot, maybe like a handful of people still reach out to me and be like, what's my advice? And I'm like, okay, back then I always gave you my opinion, and I'm still giving my opinion on my perspective of how I see things. Okay, because like back then I was more spiritual and be like, well, God and Jesus, and well, you know what I'm saying, right? Like I'd be like, I would change it to a religious perspective, but now I have an outside, like I think an open perspective. Yeah, so I have like a more open perspective of how life actually works, and I think it's about our own journey of growth. One day, one day you're gonna ask questions and people are not gonna know how to answer it. Please don't buy the because God said so or it says it in the Bible. If you really want to know, look it up yourself. But for the most part, these people are lying. These people are the people who tell you this stuff, and for those who don't, I'm pretty sure that this is probably going to be controversial to a lot of people. And they'll be like, well, who says it? Who is they? And you could fill in that blank easily. But a lot of people like to turn a blind eye and not actually pay attention to that. They're like, I don't need to do all that. I'm good. I'm good. I'm a Christian. I do all this. I'm not here to wrestle with your faith. I have my faith. I have my own belief. No, I'm not gonna make a new religion. No, I'm not gonna make a new denomination because again, I always feel like there's some sort of corruption when you try to benefit yourself over everybody else. Because if it was true, all those people who preached that I've listened to preach before, they're all going to hell. If you believe in hell, or the lake of fire, or whatever you want to call it, the second death, everybody's gonna end up there basically, because none of us are good enough. Even Paul said it, again, yeah, bring back my Bible and paraphrase it. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Paul was like, we all fall short of the grace of God, and I still think that, but I think God is just enough, just like, he's fair enough to be like, are you good? Are you a good person? You know, I'm gonna bless you this way, and that whole concept of what's the afterlife like? I have different opinions. Reincarnation maybe. I don't know. You come up with your own, your own theory. Like I'm not here to debate. I think the most part is I'm here to help people get through whatever they're going through, because we need each other, and I think that's the biggest problem that we have, that we are too scared to look for help. And no, I'm not a psychologist. No, I'm not a therapist. No, I don't have a profession in that area, but I have helped people before, and I think me being open about who I am would help people be open about who they are. And there's a lot of things you don't know about me, and you probably will never know. My closest friends will know who I am and where I come from. But for those who will be like, well, he is a nobody, I am a nobody. I'll tell you that. I am a nobody to you, but I'm a somebody to myself and to the people that I can, impact, those people I can reach and help. It doesn't have to be religious based, I don't have to have the same belief system. All I want to have is the trust system, where we trust each other enough to get through certain situations. And I am not here to listen to everything you have to say and fix all your problems, because I'm not. I can't do that. I'm here to extend my hand and be like, we all suffer through mental health. You know, one of the hardest parts when, again, as a child, I know I keep saying that I don't want to jump around, but I am. When I was a kid, when we moved to South Carolina, it was hard for me because I got bullied so much. Um, and I'm not a tall, not even, you know, I'm not tall at all, I'm short, but, and, I'm chunky, and I have a lot of things that people could make fun of me for, religious, my religion, my ancestry, the way I look, the way I speak, maybe my accent. I don't know. So many target points that people can hit, and could get it real easy because I was really hot headed, um, and I got to the point of like thinking of what's the easiest thing for me to do in this life, so I don't have to suffer. So I don't have to suffer being bullied or being oppressed by certain people, even people in church, bro. And that's the sad part. I was going through a a hard time in school, and I really thought about suicide. I did, you know. And everybody thinks about it differently. How many pills does it take for me to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? How many pills does it take for me to get away from everything? How many what can I do? Can I just jump in front of a car? Can I jump in front of a bus or train or something? Just jump off a building? Can I cut my veins and can I drown myself? And drowning was actually one of my biggest fears, but that was also a way that I wanted to die, or I wanted to take my own life. And that's the difficulty part. That's the hardest part, is to talk about that. Nobody in church wants to talk about it because they're like, nah, that's the enemy talking. Please shut up. Please stop. This is not one of those, oh, it's a demon that's inside of you. Shut the hell up. For real. Like, shut up. Don't bring that up. Not to me. And not to all these people that are hurting, that are going through this right now. Because suicide is a real thing. You know, Thinking about taking your own life is a real thing, because sometimes the pain that you have within yourself that you don't want to deal with no more, certain things that you don't want to face in life anymore, you think the easiest way is the coward way. In reality, it's the coward way out. Not wanting to deal with it, but your family has to deal with it. You know, and then I also thought about, wanting to hurt people as well. And really thought about it, and I saw these documentaries of kids and doing this in the school, and they're like, "Well, report it," and I did. I reported when I was getting bullied. I wouldn't say I would actually get beat up, like, but I was there, getting beat on. People would, and that's something I didn't tell my brother or my sister or even my parents. This is actually the first time I ever actually said it, where kids would come over and, like, cup check, and they would do it to me more than anybody else, and or like shove me in school. And again, I'm the short little chunky kid walking around and trying to be tough, and I thought that being angry all the time would show people to back off, and it didn't really help. If anything, I put a bigger target on my back, and I wanted to hurt these people. I wanted to bring a knife to school and figure it out, and I never did it. Not necessarily because the church, aspect, being in church and whatnot. It was because I didn't want to bring more pain to other people besides myself. I didn't want to be selfish. I felt like wanting to do that, wanting to kill myself or trying to kill somebody, is very selfish, because sometimes there's no justice for that, but sometimes it's a part of your growth. Um, and I know people are gonna hate me saying that, and sometimes, yeah, I go through the roughest shit. We all go through our own journey. We all go through the same emotions, just differently. And sometimes it's heavier on some of us more than others. And the most difficult part about that is having nobody to talk to, nobody to reach out to, nobody to be like, yo, I feel for you, and not actually understanding, I had, two siblings, that had a different lifestyle than I did, and to this day we still have a different lifestyle. We have different ways of thinking and believing in certain things, and I feel like I owe all those people that are going through what I'm going through or what I went through in the past. I owe them a way to help them, And this is exactly what I want to talk about. I would hope to get other people to help me on these, podcasts or mini videos or whatever you want to call them. I want to be able to reach out to you guys and, talk to you guys and, we could talk about life. We could talk about anything. Again, I had a good childhood. You want to talk about childhood, or we could talk about who had a better childhood, stuff like that, or who had a sadder childhood. And maybe a bunch, like maybe 9 out of 10 people can tell me that they had a worse childhood, and I could just probably be that 1% of kids that had a not so good. It was a rough one, but it was easy as well. Um, see, I think this new chapter in my life is gonna help me vent, but also help you understand that you're not alone, and that's the toughest part. There's this rapper. A lot of people say he's a Christian rapper. He's a Christian, but he's a rapper. He's not necessarily a Christian rapper. His name is NF. Nathan. I forgot how to say his last name. I know it starts with the F. I know. I've listened. When I started listening to his music, I felt so attached to what he was saying, because I felt the same thing. Like the first album that I heard, I'm pretty sure it was his first, album with the NF name, was Mansion, and he talked about this mansion full of rooms of different feelings and stuff like that, and I felt that, like, I was like, damn, dude, this guy is so on point, And he also talks about how he felt away from God. Another rapper that has inspired me in the past was, well, in the present too, is Dax. It's Dax. For those who don't know him, he's an independent rapper, and uh, he's big on YouTube. For me, like, he helped me out a lot. There was this song called "Dear God," and that that song, I replayed it so many times, and he said what I wanted to say about religion and all that. So it's called "Dear God" by Dax, Dax. If you guys want to listen to him, and listen to NF, his throughout his music, he's grown so much, so much. He's grown so much, and he's become a better rapper, but also a better storyteller. And I again attached myself to that. And on these, I hope to like share my, my poems and stuff like that that I haven't. I wish I could be a singer, or a rapper, and all that stuff, but it's probably probably not in the same, you know road that I'm traveling right now, but maybe when I'm 50, who knows? Wishful thinking. But yeah, I want to share, like, poems and stuff like that with you guys, because I think one of the biggest ones is my religious poem that, I think this was my breakthrough poem. But again, listening to these people, I felt I felt a certain connection to them, because what they talk about is what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've been through in life, and that was a growth period for them, and it was a growth period for me as well. And I'm able to see things differently now, and you know I'm just here. Again, we're not talking about religion. I'm just saying I came from that mindset, but I don't think that anymore. I don't judge people on, their gender preference or their gender themselves or whatever they identify themselves. I don't, like, I'm curious to that. So of course I'm going to say things that maybe there might be hurtful, because I don't understand, but I also want to educate myself through this, through this a path, like, this is a way that I feel like I can educate myself and also educate you guys, in the future, in what I can. We could discover things together. I wish I could be like Joe Rogan and have these intellectual talks, but you're probably not going to get much of that. You're just going to get a normal human. Joe Rogan is a normal human being, but he loves to educate himself, and when he's wrong, he admits it, or when he doesn't have enough knowledge of something, he admits it, and I will admit it too. I'm not the smartest person, in the world, and I'm not going to try to pretend to be the smartest person in the room. I'm just going to where you feel I'm better, or where I feel you guys are better than me. And that's the purpose of this, to be able to talk to each other. And I feel free now. I feel like, even though I'm trying to balance my personal life, I think this has helped me, because I have a different podcast. It's called Darth Bat Pod. Uh, I do it with a group of friends, that were, church related and stuff like that. But they know I'm a little different, and these are people that I've still connections to, because we see things, similar, and we talk about, comic book movies mostly, more than anything, because we haven't really talked about anything else. A little bit about wrestling and UFC and stuff like that, but not entirely. But that's a cool podcast if you guys want to check that out. It's on YouTube only. I haven't made it transition into a podcast, but this I definitely want to see if I could get into a podcast version. But yeah, so you guys have, like, you want to talk about something, or you have topics to talk about, or interested in me, giving my opinion or my perspective on it, I could do that. I would love to. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining me. I just want you guys to be safe, be well, be yourself. You know, be who you feel that you are. I know this is a hard time. I know this is a hard life, but I want you guys to be yourselves. All right, be yourselves around me. I know social media and all this modern day stuff is technological, and all that stuff is it's very complicated. So, but I'm gonna leave my email and stuff if y'all want to talk. If y'all want to have a conversation about something, if you want to tell me I'm gonna go to hell or whatever, that's cool too. I'm just I'm just gonna laugh, to be honest, because I don't. It's all right. If I'm going to hell, see you there, because you're judging me. uh, this is funny. It's an inside joke. Even if it's not an inside joke, I don't care. But yeah, like, you guys can hit me up and let me know what you want to talk about. But we could talk about life. We could talk about what you're reading right now. I actually want to get into books, and I actually have a few psychology books that I was actually getting into, and talking about how, in different scenarios, or in different environments, we dress to fit in the picture. And those who don't do that, that want to feel like themselves, are actually smarter than us. And maybe we don't accept those people, because I was with nerdy people, emo people, gothic people. I was with popular people, with gangsters. I was with the country folk. I was with Hispanics, or the cholos and stuff like that. I was with different groups of people in school, and I got a vibe from everyone, and all I ever wanted was to get along with everybody. And that's probably the hardest part, get along with another person that has a different mindset. But be open to change, and that's the thing. I want to change. You want to change the world? The only way you can change the world is if you change yourself. So, you want to change the world? Change yourself. Catch you in the next one.